Hello and welcome to The Learning Pro. It's a brand new daily series hosted by me, Cath Ellis, going through my daily life as a learning experience designer. We're going to be discussing all things to do with learning experience design, and I'll be trying to give you practical and tangible tips that you can go away and use. Now, we'll be going live several times during the week. I know it's a bit I'm basically going to try and do the best that I can, going live as much as I can during the week. A quick introduction for those who don't know me. I'm a learning experience designer. My name's Cath Ellis. I'm living in Melbourne right now. I'm originally from Manchester. And I run my own boutique e-learning company called Cath Ellis Learning Design. And I work for clients across the globe, designing all different types of learning experiences. So it's not all SCORM, it can be a variety of different types of learning experiences. If you're watching right now, go ahead and put your comments below. Let us know where you're tuning in from and if you've got any questions. Now, I've got a very, very special guest with me, and his name is Troy Ashman. And I'm going to bring him in right now. So, hello, Troy.
Hey, Cath.
How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Now, for those who don't know Troy, and you should, because he absolutely is smashing it right now on LinkedIn, sharing great tutorials. You've got a kick-ass website, troyashman.com. You take it from there, Troy. Tell people about yourself.
Thanks, Cath. So I'm Troy. I'm a learning experience designer. I live in Sydney, Australia. I've been building e-learning and learning experiences for the past probably 7 to 8 years. I predominantly work in the corporate space, so most recently working for an airline, Qantas, but also beginning to branch out into the freelance space. But I love all things technology, design, and learning.
Cool. Well, we're talking about Glide today, aren't we, Troy?
We are.
Yeah. So, Troy and I are both pretty big geeks, and I've been playing around with Glide for a little while, and I was so excited when I saw you building your first skill. What was your first skill again that you did?
My first one that I guess we'll kind of dive in and have a bit of chat about today is one I've been building called Point Guide. Yeah, it's a bit of a glide up that I've been making since kind of going into lockdown for my local community here in Sydney, or the area that I live in Sydney. Yeah, but really trying to push Glide and explore with different features and tools that Glide offers.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know what Glide is, it's glideapps.com or .io. We're going to share it in a minute. But Glide Apps is a really unique tool. You can basically build an app out of a Google spreadsheet. And, when I kind of first learned about it, I was like, oh, this can't be any good. And it's actually really, really good. And I know, Troy, you're just you've actually made a few skills. You did one for the show. Which ones have you done before this last one done?
Yeah, so I made one for the show based on, I think it was the Liberty City brief. Yeah. Before that, I've been kind of dabbling in Glide for about the past year or so, and I have, we've launched at Qantas a couple of different Glide apps to support face-to-face training. But yeah, I've probably rolled out maybe 4 or 5 different styled apps.
Yeah. It's one of those things that you can kind of build you could build anything in it, can't you, Troy?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I tell you what I'll do. I'm going to bring up Glide so that we can share it on the screen. So it's glideapps.com. So let's take a look at it. Here we go. So I'm just bringing it up so you guys can get the web address and everything. So it's glideapps.com. And guys, if you have any questions, pop them in the comments below. They're going to come to us, and we're going to be answering your questions live. So go ahead and ask any questions at all. So Glide it has a really nice dashboard. So when we say you can build it with Google Sheets, you're not having to actually build it in a Google Sheet. That's where you populate your content. And then you've got a really nice dashboard here that you can actually choose to display your content in whichever way you want to do. And then the more you get into it, the more you really get to put in enhancements and things like that onto it. Isn't that right? So this is just one example of like an employee, you could say an employee staff list or an onboarding app, you could say. They've got, I'll say this very quick, they've got a really great YouTube channel and a really great community behind them. And Troy, you can tell them about how much time you spend in the support in the community. It's like Articulate Heroes, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, it's exactly like Articulate Hero, eLearning Heroes. I'm probably in there at least once a day, multiple times a week, just, reading through all the different things that people are creating and sharing, the way people are, I guess, leveraging such a relatively basic tool to create something really unique and trying to push it to its limits. So if you're curious about trying to create your own app and you're not really sure where to start, I'd highly recommend jumping into their forums, because it's amazing.
Yeah. And this is how I started off. Okay. So they've got all these different templates that you can essentially just jump on. Is it still free? Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Yeah. So there's a number of free templates, but you can also pay to get templates that are relatively straight out of the box that you can kind of plug and play.
So I was trying to remember, because the one that I used for the conference, for the learning conference, was I've paid for that so that I could do advanced customizations. But this all these templates give you a good start to just go in and work out how they've done it and how they've made these layouts. So I bet you Troy's looks like mine. It's got loads of templates in there, but I never use them. I'm just like, I'm going to keep that there because that's useful to know for the future. So how about you jump in, Troy, and share your screen? Do you want me to show the learning conference one first, and then you can get your one ready to bring up?
Sure. Yeah, sure. That sounds good.
All right. So I'll very quickly show the one from the learning conference. So the idea behind this was to basically have a place that our attendees could jump on and check the schedule. They could read a little bit more about the speakers. So, if we're going to, I can open up the speakers here. So, Kathy Moore, they can click on, they could see a little bio of Kathy. And I've used these kind of relations that you can link up from the spreadsheet and show additional information. So these are lists that you can filter. So it recognizes that Kathy is doing this talk. So you can click on that and it'll go through to her talk, and got the whole bio. We've put the resources and the recording link through. It's got the category. So again, it's very smart. And then these are all of the talks that were in that category. So it's nice in a way. I think if this is a tool like learning or like website design, that we want people to keep invest, that they're not locked down to a certain way of going through this content. They can go anyway. So we want them to continue to keep moving through the content. And I absolutely love that. And this really just, this project in itself was great because it really challenged me. I wanted to have functionality that if someone bought tickets on different days, I could lock it down and they only saw specifically the content relevant for that one day. I also had the attendees make their own profile, and let's see, Dale. So Dale's got his website and his LinkedIn, but people could choose what to display, and I just loved that. So we were able to enhance this by putting on a paid plan. I was able to put it on my own domain. So there's no reference on this one to Glide at all. Trying to think how much it was, 29 or 39 US dollars a month.
Yeah, it's pretty cheap.
Yeah, really reasonable. So, and looking at the amount of data that's in there, so it has a certain amount of lines of entries. We've used hardly any for this conference. So if someone's, people are actually building things like COVID-19 apps and things like that, because you can start pulling in from RSS feeds, and the sky's the limit really with the things that you can do. So I just wanted to show you an example of one that I did recently. And this is a good example to show you because it's on a paid plan. But the ones that are on the free plan, the only difference is it really says that it's a Glide app. So it has the branding. So I'll hand over to you, Troy.
Sure.
You can share your screen.
So this is a bit of an app that I've been working on since kind of going into lockdown mid kind of March as a way to really upskill myself in Glide and, I guess cure some boredom that I was having due to not being working at that time. So the app that I've built is called Point Guide. It's been built for the regional or the community that I live around in Rogues, Montmouth Point, Sydney Olympic Park area of Sydney. The reason I built this was there's a bit of a Facebook group for these suburbs in Sydney, and I noticed
That's cool.
Continually there were people posting in these Facebook groups like, does anybody recommend a good restaurant, or does anybody know a good electrician, or does anybody know where I can take my kids to a park, that kind of thing. So I noticed very quickly as being a local resident that there was no kind of singular source of truth. So I thought I would make an app to house that content in there, and then also take that opportunity to trial some new concepts and ideas with Glide. So this is the main kind of homepage that people come into once they've created their profile. I've got stories here, so I've kind of leveraged a bit of an Instagram kind of feel that people, which I'll get to in a minute, can participate in challenges, like a bit of a local scavenger hunt around the community, upload an image to prove that they did whatever challenge. And then these images pull in and show here on the homepage as a way to try and encourage people to get out and explore the local community. Up the very top, I'm currently logged in as myself, so I'm an admin. So you can see that I've got admin rights that I can approve or remove this submission. So if I remove it and we go back it's now gone from everybody's view. That's really powerful in case somebody uploads something that's maybe insensitive or isn't really what they should have uploaded. So there's a bit of user control there.
Yeah.
Got a profile, which is quite, standard. There's a profile. They can edit it at any time. As I mentioned, there's some challenges. So you can see at the moment, I've completed 40% of the available challenges. So let's jump in and have a look at the challenges.
Yeah, cool. This looks really kick-ass, Troy.
Oh, thank you. So the challenges is called Point Challenge. It's, as I mentioned, like a bit of a scavenger hunt to get out and, explore where I live. There's tons of like local Aboriginal history where I live, really cool restaurants and cafes, different things. So I really wanted to try to, encourage people to get out and explore that area, but also test how we could use Glide as a learning tool to perhaps do a scavenger hunt in a face-to-face training session, or maybe it's, a student or a learner who is physically typing out some sort of response to a question that they're being asked in a face-to-face session.
Yeah.
Having a look. Sorry?
No, I was just going to say that really the sky's the limit with it, whether it's even kind of onboarding, going from go and learn about the different departments, and complete a challenge from that. That's so much more engaging than sitting and doing a SCORM course, so.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, the way I've built this, I've kind of, I guess we could say, I've templated it and future-proofed it so that in the future I can potentially copy this app, strip it bare, keep all the coding or the formulas in place, and just re-roll it out for a different application, in a real business, for a real business world. So
yeah, this is awesome. We've just got a very quick question here that I'd like to address. And Mohammed has written, does Glide have sign-up option in the free version? So the sign-up option is, I just want to explain that because the way you onboarded people on this app was great. And Mohammed, you can actually do, it's really the sky's the limit with regards to your imagination. So it's not just something that's a standard tool. It's actually the way that you set your filters, the way that you would on kind of any other app. If you're working in Storyline, you're working in true and false worlds, variables. It's quite similar to that. Is this person meeting this requirement? So it might say, if this person has not got an avatar, show this, and has not got these fields filled out, show this page. So it's a bit like a true and false, but you're the one who actually sets that up. But the great thing about the community is the same way that I did with the Learning Conference app. I did a similar thing that they had to set up their avatar to actually log into the information so that attendee's picture was there. The community have enough templates that will get you started, or people that you can reach out to and go, hey, how do I do this? Do you want to add anything to that, Troy?
Yeah, I mean, maybe I can show quickly the onboarding experience that I created for this app. So before the user to actual homepage, and kind of talk through some different conditions that I put into the app. Do you think that might be helpful?
Yeah, I think that'd be great. If you want, you can continue and then go on to there. But we'll just not forget Mohammed, because that was a great question, Mohammed. And keep them coming. If there's more questions, you've got the pros here. We can talk you through it.
All right, sweet. So I'll continue kind of going, the deep dive in, I guess, into the app, and then we'll jump
Yep.
into the onboarding experience.
How you did it.
Yeah. So within the point challenge section, I've got players and leaderboards. So, everybody can see kind of everybody, and it creates a bit of competition. So yeah, we have some user profiles here, and anybody can click on anybody and have a look at what what challenges they've uploaded or what challenges they've completed.
That's cool.
But the challenges section is, I think, where it kind of, in our context of learning, has some really, it's really powerful. So what I've done is made 5 challenges based on the local area. In the context, in the real world context, this could be about anything. Like you said, go find this department, or go have a coffee with your new colleague, or whatever it might be.
Yeah, that's really nice, isn't it?
Yeah. So if I just go to the bottom 2 first, we have it shows you who else within the app has completed this challenge. Then we have some instructions, and I was trying to be a little bit, giving a little bit of a clue away without explicitly telling them what I was getting them to look for. So,
yeah,
I gave a little bit of information about, what I wanted them to go find. Once they've gone and found whatever I was trying to allude to them to go find, they can click on complete challenge.
Yep.
Upload their image, put in a caption, and then let us know how they're feeling. So did they like it? Did they get lost, or whatever? The cool thing here, though, is once they've submitted their challenge, as an admin, I'll take a step back. So once they've submitted their challenge, it goes into a pending state.
Oh, that's cool.
Where it waits for myself as an admin to go in and review their submission to make sure that they have met the requirements, or in this case where they're uploading a photo, the photo itself isn't something that is, as I said before, insensitive, that they're not uploading just something completely random.
Yeah.
Once it's been approved, they get this green tick, and then you can see, it shows everybody that has been approved and has completed this challenge.
So good.
So for an admin, I have this button down below, pending challenges for approval. I can click on that. I can see the challenge is called Where the Eels Lie. It was done by myself. It's currently pending, and I can go, yes, that's fine, approve. And then we go back to the home. Here it is now at the top.
Yeah. And do you want to explain, Mohammed might be interested in this as well. We've got another question as well from Valentina. We'll come to you in a minute, Valentina. But even you having admin, it's just the parameters that you put in the back end for a button to show if you're an admin, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. So
it's like true. It's like a bit like it's not true and false, but we'll show you, Mohammed, because I think you'll find it really interesting how you can turn on and off things for people.
Yeah. So, I mean, kind of if you can understand variables from Articulate, then, you've already got a good head start when coming to Glide. And I found, it is very much if this equals, this person's email address or whatever keyword you've put in, then you're on the money and you're kind of safe to continue on.
Yeah. I'll quickly address Valentina's question because she had a really good one. She said, can we retrieve any data on the users? And if yes, what kind of data can be retrieved? So we might find that out in a minute, Valentina, when he takes us under the hood. Good question. And Mohammed, he's saying, oh, I'd love to see the back end. That sounds a bit rude, actually, Mohammed.
Should we jump in and have a look at how I've built it in the back?
Yeah, and he said fully hands-on articulate. So I think he's going to love this. Yeah, jump in the back end, Troy.
All right, no worries. So
Cool.
what I'll do is
We're filthy. I'm so sorry, Mohammed.
what I'll do first is show the Google Sheet because, you know, it's built off a Google Sheet. This Google Sheet, you know, I've got all my different tabs down below. Different sheets within your workbook of Google refer to a different page or different tab within your app. So just move that. We have the home. So this is what's showing on the home page of the app. There's a page within the app called the story. This is the content that's showing in that page, so on and so forth. With my app, I've got all my imagery and the text. In some instances, if I go to challenge logs, I've got some additional formulas and different things in my Google Sheet. I think the really cool thing about Glide is because it's retrieving things from a Google Sheet, if you're familiar with formulas, you can kind of, you know, push Glide to its limits and use a whole different, you know, you use different formulas to make something really unique and powerful.
Yeah, absolutely.
I guess an example of that would be, you know, I've got here, these are the images that people are uploading for their challenges. So, you know, if I click on any of these, I can see an image that I've uploaded as an example of a challenge. But what I'm also doing is then using different formulas within Google Sheets to manipulate that URL and apply filters and different kinds of things onto the image. So now that I've applied some filters, I've got my yellow circle around it. It's quite small, so that when it goes into here, it has that, you know, orange or yellow circle on the outside of it.
That's really cool, Troy. I didn't know anything about that. So what's that, Cloudflare?
So that's Cloudinary. So I'm using
Cloudinary, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm using Cloudinary as my image repository, but what I've also done is used it to apply filters. So here I have in column J, I've got some different codes here that if we add those different codes onto the image URL, it then ends up with an image that looks like, you know, looks like this.
It's a bit like CSS, but not.
Yeah, a bit, yeah.
Yeah. I really, you know what? I mean, that's pretty much a tutorial in itself, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah.
You know, cool. And you can see, guys, that what he's basically doing, and I'm going to turn off the banner so you can see the bottom here. You see how he's got all of his content relevant to each of the tabs within Google Slides. So, you know, everything that's to do with these point logs, he's got his home, he's got the story about, and what Glide does really well is it kind of identifies, oh, this is an image, so this should be displayed this way. Doesn't always display it in a perfect manner, but it actually does really well interpreting what's on the slide, doesn't it, Troy? So it's just you breaking it down from there. So the first time, so the way that I approach building my app is I actually do my Google slide first, and then I import it into Glide, and then I work out the layout. And I must say, Troy, it just looks fantastic the way that you've done this. I love it.
Yeah.
Do you want to show the back of Glide for the guys?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I'll put it on the big screen again so they can see.
No worries. So this is I guess we should say, kind of like the dashboard, the authoring side of things within Glide. So you've built out your Google Sheet. You've then connected your Google Sheet to Glide. Glide has then imported it into this dashboard. And then from here, you can kind of go away and start changing designs or adding in things and making it look exactly how you want it to look. So on the right-hand side, you've got components and styles. So your styles, at the moment, I'm using the details option. And then within that, you've got all your individual elements. So we have, this is an image up the top. Then we've got a button. I've got some rich text here. Handy hint is that Glide doesn't officially support HTML, but it does work. So you can use HTML or Markdown text to kind of change how things are looking within the Glide app.
We've had a quick comment here congratulating you.
Oh, thank you.
Do you know who this is?
No, I can't see the screen.
Well, it says it's Leaf Nicole. Leaf Nicole. It's a username on YouTube. So obviously absolutely loves it. And of course, Emma Pawson is saying, love this design. And we totally agree. So keep going. You were going through the components. Do you know, I think that is so clever. So what you've done there that I've not even worked out how to do is you've overridden the text. So click on that again, the rich text. Yep. So you've been able to actually put a bit of HTML in there so that we can override the color of the font.
Yeah, that's right.
You can probably do other things as well, can't you?
Yeah. I mean, they don't officially support HTML that I've seen, or the documentation that I've read is that they don't officially support it. For the moment, it works, and that was a decision I made based on the aesthetic. I found that sometimes some of the default styling of the text that Glide gives you wasn't really, it didn't really match what it didn't work. So I decided to try some HTML, and it's worked. So that'll be something I just have to keep an eye on to see what happens in the future.
That's great. Looks fantastic. So keep on going.
So then we have things like inline lists. This app, as you'll see as we go down, is very much built upon inline lists. And inline lists allow you to pull data based on relations and different formulas or different different formulas that you put in. So for an example, I have a inline list here that is pulling data from my sheet, which is called Point Challenge Logs. I have the final image, which is the image that I've been applying some filtering through via formulas in Google Sheets. I've got the username, and I have added in some filters. So Mohammed, this might be kind of touching on what you were mentioning, that I've got some filters here, so it will only show if approved is equal to true. And if today's date is after the date that I've put in there to remove the image. So I'm having them only show for a certain period of time, otherwise there will be 100,000 stories.
Yeah. And this is where, when you really start thinking about these programs and you start thinking about, and I say articulate storyline because so many people use it, certainly in my network, it just all makes sense. You're like, oh, I can understand that now because I use true and false variables, and Oh yeah, there's another variable, and that makes sense now. So yeah, that's great.
Yeah. And, kind of touching again on Mohammed's point there, he asked a question about profiles and stuff. So I have a rule written into my app, which is, do they have a profile? So I've just called it has profile. And
Yeah.
I'll go and show. So we go to data. The data tab on the left here allows you to view your Google Sheet. I guess we could say your Google Sheet. So this is all the data that was in my Google Sheet. But it also allows you to create different things such as variables and relations and stuff like that. So if I go profiles. So in my profiles tab down here, we have all the user data, and we can see all the people that have accessed this app. We can see, their name, their photo, when they joined, what neighborhood they're from. And then I have a rule, which is, if I go edit, is an if, then, or else rule. So I'm pretty much telling Glide that for them to have a profile, they must upload a photo and they must put in a username, such as their first name. If none of that is entered, they will remain as false, which we can see, this dummy profile I've started making down the bottom, it's just showing false. If these conditions are met, then it will equal to true, like everybody else is showing.
Yeah.
Mohammed
said, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. I mean, you can create some really unique things within Glide. I guess, like you said, once you kind of start thinking about the tool and you can kind of create whatever you really want.
Yeah. And Valentina had a good question as well, Troy. She said, does it support other languages?
Yeah, so at the moment, they only support the language that you create with. So I've created with English, so it only supports English. I do know that they are, from what I've read on their forums, they are investigating options to try to support different languages, and I suspect that will be based on the native language that you've got on your phone. So if your phone is German or French, whatever, it would adjust to that. But there would still be an issue, I guess we could say, surrounding certain translations of that content.
But you could pretty much override everything, couldn't you? If you were building from scratch, it just wouldn't translate to another language. And if you were Israeli, for example, and went left to right, or if you were from a country that you wrote from left to right, right to left, right to left, left to right, yeah, right to left, that would be an issue because I don't think there's a switch there. But they're always doing updates on this, Valentina. Like they're always, every other day, I think there's something new. We were talking about that before, weren't we, Troy? Like they just roll out new features all the time.
Yeah. And that's the cool thing, they're constantly investing in the product and constantly rolling out new updates. And, it's great to see how responsive they are to feature requests. So you can go in and request a feature and, they'll, obviously they'll review that feature and see what work is involved to do that. But they're very user-centric in how they roll out things and what will give end users like us the biggest, I guess, return.
Yeah. We've had another question from Mohammed, and he said, oh, okay, you set some criterias on if or else conditions.
Yeah, that's right. So in this example, if I go back to the profiles, So this column here is a column called if then else. So by default, this column refers as false. Once certain criteria has been met, it will then adjust to true. And I've used that condition to show or not show certain features throughout the app. So if I quickly show the onboarding experience, so if I just go,
that was the dummy one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was the one that was a false. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is my dummy profile that I've opened up the app. I've put in my email address, but Glide has realized that my profile is not yet created. So the condition is showing as false. And therefore it's showing a particular onboarding screen that I've created.
Yeah.
So I'll just quickly go in. It says get started by clicking the pencil. So we'll click the pencil. So what's your name? We'll just go Troy. I'll have to upload a photo. So if I'm going to be Sydney Harbour in this example. And I'll choose my suburb. So wait for it to upload. It's now recognized that all these fields have been completed. So it's now showing this, this kind of thank you message down the bottom. And we can then click on done in the upper right-hand corner.
Yeah.
It then, something I wanted to try to do was a bit of an onboarding experience to really kind of, make the user experience a little bit more smoother rather than, just kind of dumping them into an app and hoping they find their way.
Yeah, them not knowing.
Yeah.
Do you know what? Since we're on this screen, and I want to say this, guys, and Mohammed said perfect, right? So he's obviously digging this. And do you know, I honestly think as learning designers, guys, and the way that we have made a lot of content in the past, so even just Troy's recognition that, we've done that nice onboarding experience. He wants someone to put their profile picture in and we want details from them. So we've done that. Even that thank you message, we do that in e-learning all the time. And when Troy showed me this, I actually showed him an example of another piece of work. Do you mind if I jump over to it, Troy, and talk about?
Yeah, of course.
Well, the reason being is I feel like, so this is not a piece of work that I have done. This is a great company that are in the United States, and they are called Maestro, and they're one of my favorite learning companies. And Maestro, or Meet Maestro, have done a piece of work for Southwest Airlines, and now this is not a Glide app. They have built this from scratch. But as far as the onboarding experience that they've created here, and I'm talking not just onboarding with regards to getting the profile picture. So if I scroll here, just scroll down so we can just look at this interface. Okay, you can see these images a little bit better. See here, it's selfie time. So it's saying show us those pearly whites and set your profile photo. And it says something underneath, and it probably says I'm in, right? So the experience that actually Troy's created is so similar to this. So this great piece of onboarding for Southwest Airlines. And I think just thinking about how can we use these tools out in the industry, So if you can see here, Southwest Airlines have got, they're kind of, they're building an onboarding for their staff a bit like you would when you're actually going to fly, so get ready to fly, the shuttle's on its way, dinner's on us tonight, new hire checklist. They've obviously got an agenda, and, they've kind of got this, it looks a bit like an airline ticket that you get on your mobile phone. And, you know, if you look at this closely, you know, the icons and the layout is actually looking very, very close to what you can do in Glide. So obviously this is a custom custom tool that they've made. And, you know, I'd say this would be a great experience, onboarding experience. So you can see here, they've said Southwest is an iconic brand, and we know what it feels like to be Southwest customer. And they've tried to kind of recreate that as far as the learning experience. My phone is ringing. I don't know what to do. Just bear with me. Troy, say something.
Yeah, I think, like you said, this looks very much, you know, even though it hasn't been built in Glide, there are elements of the app that they've developed that could easily be done, you know, within Glide. And I think that's the power of it. And the fact that they are just constantly rolling out features, I think it won't be long until Glide has the capability to create something by default that looks exactly like this.
Yeah. So, you know, I'd say that with what you've learned today, you know, we've shown you a couple of examples of working, you know, of these working apps. You know, go and have a play. Think about how can we start creating learning experiences out of these. I will tell you that I worked for a big agency, and we had a client who spent a lot of money on e-learning. Yes, it was a landline. Someone's commenting, a landline? I know. I can't believe it. No one has rang this number in about a year. And now I'm doing a live stream and it rings. So, you know, if you think about these apps, and you know, this client that I was working for and doing a lot of courses when I was working at this agency, they just stopped ordering e-learning. And when we inquired and said why, they said, oh, forget it, just too hard to maintain. We've actually invested a company to make us an app. Now, this was 2014. And probably cost them a lot of money, but they wanted, you know, the chef to be able to update what was the specials of the day and things like that, that staff just, they need to know things fast, and to be able to jump into an app that's searchable, etc. And, you know, I was talking to Troy about this, and I just said, you know, I think this is the future. You know, Devlin Peck is a person as well that we know in our network, and he's very interesting. We're going to get him on to have a chat with us. He doesn't know yet, but he's coming, and he has been working with Glide apps, and he's been pulling out XAPI statements. So, you know, you've got all of these different options that are out there. And another great comment's just come in here. Hints and tips of shifting the boss from their loyalty to SCORM. It must be on the LMS. Troy.
Interesting.
It's a hard conversation. Yeah. Do you know what? I'd say, for example, Troy now, he's got, like I have, a number of examples that I can go out and I can meet a client and I can say, hey, what about something like this? Do you know what my suggestion is? When you start using sexier language than e-learning, right? Oh yeah, we'll make you an e-learning course. Do you know what? To say, we'll make you a learning app, right? A lot of the things that Troy's been doing, you can still go into the back and see things have been completed because you've got access to that document. The fact that it's future-proof, that you can just make changes immediately, right? It's very, very exciting. And also, I'd also say, don't sell yourself short and go in there and say, well, you know, this is only going to cost $39 a month or so. There's a lot of work that needs to go behind this. This is a premium tool. You can sell this for a lot of money to a client if you use the language, if you use the right language. Troy, what do you think?
Yeah, I 100% agree with what you said. I think, you know, talking in the context of my corporate experience and, you know, an example where I did use Glide was at Qantas, where we rolled out so we were doing face-to-face training around the country. We wanted to provide those learners with something that they could, follow along with us on the day in the training session, but also something that they could have in their pocket or, you know, on their phone and take home with them to continue that learning journey. So we rolled out a Glide app. It was, you know, bespoke. So each session we had the opportunity to add in or remove different content. So it was quite unique in that sense. But I think one of the, kind of touching on that comment about it must be on the LMS, one of the key things we tried to do was all roads led back to the LMS. So this was an extension of the learning management system, the portal. This was a unique thing that we had done to complement the face-to-face training, and all roads within, you know, led the user back to the learning management system too.
Like a flipped classroom.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. But you know, at that point, I don't know if they had Zapier integration. They do now. It would depend on the LMS that you have and if it's supported by Zapier. If you're coming at it from a compliance perspective that, you know, somebody needs to complete this learning, but we don't know if they've done it, you know, you might be able to link it through Zapier that when Cath or myself does X thing, it will talk to Zapier, which links through to your LMS. So,
yeah. So there's ways, you know. Mohammed has asked the question. Or made the statement, I can see lots of opportunities here integrating Glide apps with LMS. Yeah. So it's just reinforcing what we're saying. And, you know, I think, you know, Troy, I'd love for us to continue this conversation. You know, maybe we can do another session and actually have Devlin on and we talk together about it, you know. But I think what I'd say to you guys is, I don't know if any of you have built apps. Tell us in the comments if any of you ever had to go out and had an app made, because the last time I looked into getting an app made, it was for a government department and it was a massive amount of money, right? And, you know, I think this tool gives us the opportunity to develop apps and to move things away from SCORM. And like I said, if you use the right language with the client, you won't even need to convince them, you know. But, you know, I think, you know, we've nearly been talking for an hour here, so we're going to have to wrap up soon. But maybe if you would like, I tell you what, guys, if you would like to hear more from Troy and I on Glide, and if you want Devlin Peck, put it in the comments below. We will we'll hound him. He's a busy man, Devlin Peck as well. But we'll try and get him on and talk about XAPI. Never had an app experience to date. We've had one comment. Yeah, it's an interesting thing. Even just out of interest, go out and try and get a quote. I tell you, it's nearly $100,000 for an app. And I'm not saying that this is still a meaty piece of work that you're going to need to do. Still going to have to treat the content. But if you're wanting to start using gamification and going out and XAPI and things like that, I mean, it's fairly complex stuff. But I'd say get on it, jump on, it's free.
Yeah.
Just try making something. Work out how these inline lists, how to filter the content in. Try looking at different displays. You've got this recording now. Go and have a look at what Troy's done, I've done. Try and replicate things, you know, and just have fun with it, you know. Last words from you, Troy?
Yeah, I just echo that sentiment of trying to, you know, I know we can all be a bit time poor at times, but really trying to set that time aside to get a little bit experimental, I think, and get in there and just try to play and download one of the templates and try to reverse engineer it and break it. That's my biggest piece of recommendation.
Yeah, and I'll quickly show you where to go in Glide. Actually, maybe you want to show it from your screen. If you've still got it open there, you can show the support, where to go for support. And if there's things that you don't know as well, I'll go to experts. I'll just hire an expert for an hour and get them to work through. We've got a comment here from Leaf Nicole, said, yes, please, more of this fantastic conversation. And Mohammed said the same thing. He's saying, great conversation, thanks. So yeah, we're people are loving this. So have you got it up on your screen?
Yeah, I do. Sure.
All right. Okay. So here we go.
My little dummy projects here that I've got. But once you create your profile in Glide, down the bottom here, you know, they've got a whole learning library, like Cath mentioned, of YouTube videos, you know, documentation, samples where you can read in depth about different things like inline lists and what different buttons or variables different things do. But once you go to templates, they have a whole template library, and you can just search in what you're looking for, or, you know, you can scroll down. There are paid templates, or you can just find a free one. Once you find one that you're looking for, if I just go, I don't know, a random one, we'll go preview the template.
It just takes a second for it to populate.
Once you've got the app that you want to try to reverse engineer and experiment with, go into the preview mode, and then in the top right-hand corner, you can just go copy template, and it'll pull a copy of this app into your own profile, and you'll see it down here with all your other apps that you've got. And then, yeah, pretty much start reverse engineering and looking at how they've done different things. Yeah, and then you're kind of on your way.
Now, I skipped over a question from Valentino. She's telling me off. She asked, I'm not sure if I said this to you, Troy, can we retrieve any data on the users? If yes, what kind of data can be retrieved? And now she's just said to us, thank you for the introduction to Glide. Can I please contact Troy for information on data collection? So what I'd say to you is, it depends how you set up your sheet as far as data collection, but you should be able to look in the back, just like you saw on Troy's sheet, and see whether you've got true or falses or something populating. You know, it could be an image that they've needed to upload, or new content. You'll see new content has been added to lists. So, Troy, anything else?
Yeah, I mean, exactly what you said. You know, officially and technically, no, you can't retrieve user data, but because you've got variables and different rules and things that you can create, you can easily create that yourself. So what I mean by that is, in my example, I've got that has profile variable, and that's tracking based on particular user data, such as a name, email, photo. So you could create your own user data collection kind of parameters, I guess we could say, that you can start pulling things off and seeing exactly what is Troy or Cath or Valentina doing within the app.
Yep.
It does have integration as well for Google Analytics. I haven't gone down that route yet, so I'm not sure if that would be something that you would be interested in. But absolutely, feel free to reach out.
And what I'll add to it before we wrap this up is, let's say you don't have an LMS and you want to build an app and use the Google Sheet as basically your LMS. So it has functionality to do like feedback forms. You can ask questions and get input. Okay. So if you were using some of the things that Troy has put in place or that I have put in place, you could absolutely build the equivalent of something that is like an LMS that will give you kind of a marked off as complete for an activity. The sky's the limit. So it's really your imagination that's the only thing that's restricting you. So the more that you can go and investigate the templates that are there and just, like Troy said, reverse engineer things, start sussing things out, reaching out to Troy, to myself, we'd be happy to assist you as much as we can, but you could think of it that way. What's your opinion on that, Troy?
Yeah, absolutely. More than happy for anybody to reach out and ask questions. More than happy to share kind of my journey and what I've found, and go from there.
Yeah. So last questions before we wrap this up, guys. I want to say to Troy, thank you so much, Troy. As always, I love talking to you because you're such a mega nerd in such a good way. And I'm positive that the people who have been good enough to sit through this hour-long conversation have actually taken away a lot and are going to probably be on Glide right now, having a whirl. So, I mean, look, where you have our details. I'll put Troy's LinkedIn page and also his website in the description of the video. And, you can reach out to me as well. I know I'm not quite as wonderful as Troy, but we try. And, reach out to either of us and we'll try and help you as much as we can. Okay? So, Troy, I appreciate it, sir. I want to say that Troy and I are, we're big Kylie Minogue fans, aren't we, Troy? So we're going to do a dance off now. Spinning around. What do you think? I won't do it to you, but I won't do it to you guys. I'm a terrible dancer, but we are both massive Kylie fans. I think I'm a bigger fan. He thinks he's a bigger fan. But we have loved spending time with you. And we look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Nearly everyone has signed off, Troy. There's only a couple of people watching now. Everyone's like, oh, bloody hell, we don't want to see you dance. But Troy, thank you so much. And we will get on again and we will continue our Glide conversation part 2. Okay?
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a great day. Adios.